Alright, so we're just about there. This is number 10 in our Absolute Beginner series for piano. What we're going to be doing here is taking what we learned about the key of C in our last video and applying that to learning other keys and figuring them out. We'll start with our two easiest keys, G and F, and we'll look a little bit at how they look on the keyboard and how they look written out, both just in letters and in musical notation. And if you feel like this leaves you kind of wanting more once you're done, please feel free to leave comments down below on any topics you'd like covered in future series, or if you have any specific tutorials you'd be interested in. As far as individual tutorials on songs, there's tons of resources on the internet between like overhead camera tutorials and Synthesia playthroughs. But you know, if there's something that you feel like we could help with and you can't find anything out there, just let me know and I'll see what I can do. So let's look at our keys of G and F and how we can figure them out, learn what using what we already know about the key of C. So let's take our pattern we played on C and look at what we're doing. Whole step, half step, 3 and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Whole step, whole step, half step, another one. That's 7 and 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's easiest to keep track of our half steps because there's less of them, okay? So almost all whole steps except for 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. Also, let's remember our chords real quick. Our chords went 1 is C major, 2 is D minor, 3 is E minor, 4 is F major, 5 is G major, 6 is A minor, 7 is B diminished, and then we're back to 1 again, okay? So what we're going to try to do is do that in another key. We'll write this all out in a second, so let's take a look at it on the keyboard, but if it doesn't make sense, don't give up, because we'll talk about this a few different ways, and hopefully one of them makes sense. And try watching the whole thing again after you've watched the video once. It might take more than one viewing to get this. So for G, if we start on G, I'm going to start down here. Okay. If we try to follow that same pattern, remember we want a half step between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. So whole, half, that's good. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whole. Now this is a half, we don't want that. We want another whole. So we gotta reach up and grab F sharp. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Half step. 8. Now that sounds just like C. Lower, okay? So there's our G scale. 1 black key, F sharp. So we're going to start with our easiest keys today. Just 1 sharp and we'll do 1 flat in a second. Okay? Let's think about how that affects our chords. Well, we already know this is G major, right? That didn't change. C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major. We already know this is A minor. That didn't change. But look at this guy. Because right now we use F sharps, we don't use Fs for this key. G has no F in it. Just F sharp, okay? So if we think about our order, it always goes 1 is major, G major, 2 is minor, A minor, 3 is minor, B minor. So we learned B diminished for key of C. This is B minor. This is old. We have C major again, just like before. Ooh, this is new. Because again, no Fs in key of G. So this is a D major, okay? So we had D minor in key of C, and this is D major. If you think about your 5-note scales, that's the same, D major. Okay, so 1 is G major, 2 is A minor, 3 is B minor, 4 is C major, 5 is D major, 6 is E minor, that's old, and then 7, another new chord. No Fs in key of G, F sharp. This is an F sharp diminished. So our 7th is diminished, just like before. All our keys are the same pattern. 1 is major, 2 is minor, 3 is minor, 4 is major, 5 is major, 6 is minor, 7 is diminished, for this one F sharp diminished, and then we're back home to G. So practice doing that up and down like C. Let's try going back down. G major, F sharp diminished, E minor, D major, C major, B minor, A minor, G major. And I recommend writing some of this stuff down. Writing that down helps. Pause the video, try it yourself slower, and then try looking back and doing it one more time. This all helps. So if that's all good, then you're ready to move on and try key of F. Okay, so for F, we got to remember our pattern, right? So half step between 3 and 4, and half step between 7 and 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? So for F, whole step, half step, whole step. We should already know that much from our 5-note scales. Okay? Then whole step again, and then half step. So we had one black key, but we already knew about that from our 5-note scales. F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. Okay? Now, I focused on my left hand here because this one's a little bit weird for your right hand because you can't really cross at your 3rd finger like normal. It's really awkward. So for F, normally you cross at your 4th finger. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and you just have an extra finger left over, okay? But right now, if that's too confusing, just try left hand. Okay. Now let's think about our chords again. So we don't have B's, we have B flats. How's that going to affect everything? So we have an F major, just like before. But now, this is new, we have a G minor. Okay. Then we have an A minor. Remember, it's always going to go 1 is major, 2 is minor, 3 is minor. Then another new chord, B flat major, but we should know this one from our 5-note scales. Okay? Then C major, again, D minor. And then, ooh, another new one, E diminished. Remember, our 7th's always diminished. So 1 is F major, 2 is G minor, 3 is A minor, 4 is B flat major, 5 is C major, 6 is D minor, 7's E diminished, and then we're back to F. Same thing with this one. Let's try go back down. F major, E diminished, D minor, C major, B flat major, A minor, G minor, F major. And if you can, just like the C, it's good to practice this with 2 hands. F major, G minor, A minor, B flat major, C major, D minor, E diminished, F major. Back down, F major, E diminished, D minor, C major, B flat major, A minor, G minor, F major. Alright. So let's look at that all written out so we can reinforce it all. And like always, feel free to go back to the other part after you've gone through this part to see if that helps make it make a little bit more sense. So we want to use key of C as our template. We know that it's going to go whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. But we know that naturally, the only notes that are half steps are E and F, B and C. Those are the only ones missing a black key in the middle. All the other ones have a black key in the middle. And then our chords are always going to go 1 major, 2 minor, 3 minor, 4 major, 5 major, 6 minor, 7 diminished. Okay, so let's look at G as we write it out. So G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, so we want it to go whole step from 1 to 2, whole step from 2 to 3, half step from 3 to 4, whole step from 4 to 5, whole step from 5 to 6, whole step from 6 to 7, and a half step from 7 to 8. That's what we want. That's not what it is. We got to make it be that. So what I tell my students is to ask yourself 3 questions, right? If you're writing this out. If you're playing it at the instrument, a lot of times people just end up kind of guessing, even if I say, don't guess, think about it. But if you're writing it out, you can ask yourself 3 questions. What is it? What do I want it to be? What do I do? Okay? So for G to A, what is it? It's a whole step. What do I want? A whole step. So what do I do? Nothing. It's fine. It's what it needs to be. A to B, what is it? A whole step. What do I want? A whole step. So what do I do? Nothing. It's what it needs to be. B to C, what do I want? Well, I want a half step. What is it? B to C already is a half step. What do I do? Nothing. It's fine. This is why I'm saying these are our easy keys. Nothing to do so far. Your hard keys, you'd be fixing all kinds of stuff already. C to D, what do we want? Whole step. What do we have? Whole step. What do we do? Nothing. D to E, what do we want? Whole step. What is it? It's a whole step. You guys get the drill. Okay, finally, E to F. What do we want? A whole step. Well, what is it? It's a half step. E to F are right next to each other. There's no black key in the middle. So that's where we're going to raise our F up to an F sharp. We'll play the black key above F. And now that's a whole step, okay? And then our last one, 7 to 8, we want a half step. It is a half step because it's F sharp to G, which is right next to G. So that's our half step. So key of G major has 1 sharp, okay? Key of C has has no sharps, no flats, it's all natural. Key of G has 1 sharp. So now we build our chords. So our chords would be built on the same notes as before, and we would name them like we did before. So G major for 1, 2 would be A minor, 3 would be B minor, 4 would be C major, 5 would be D major, 6 would be E minor, and 7 would be F sharp diminished, right? So it's going to follow that same pattern. Major 1, minor 2, minor 3, major 4, major 5, minor 6, diminished 7. Now if you look at which chords are new, G's old news, we've already seen that, because it's still made of the same stuff. It's still G, B, and D. A minor's old news, we've already seen that. A, C, and E, nothing new. B minor is new, because before B diminished was B, D, and F, but this is B, D, and F sharp. That's why it's new. That's why that chord hasn't shown up before. C is old news. C, E, and G, already seen it. D major is new, because before we had D, F, and A, but now we have D, F sharp, and A. So that's why a new chord popped up, okay? E minor's old news. We had E, G, B before, it's still E, G, B. And then F sharp diminished is F sharp, A and C, so obviously that one's new as well, because before it was F, A, and C, and now it's F sharp, A, and C. So those are all new chords, these 3 chords right here. Okay, as far as writing stuff out, we'd write it the same way we wrote in C. You know, if we wanted to write our G scale, we would go G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Now, sometimes people write in the sharps like that, but they also have key signatures. What a key signature does is you put a sharp at the beginning of the music like this, and that means all your Fs are sharp, even if it's not the F on this line. Even this F down here is still sharp. So that's part of the reason we need a natural. Say if our key signature had 1 sharp, and we didn't want an F sharp, we wanted an F natural, we would write it like this. That tells us don't play F sharp, play F natural. Okay? But that's a lot easier than having to write sharp over and over and over again if you just write 1 at the beginning. And then now also you can look at the beginning of your music and go, oh, this is in G. Or it's in E minor, that's a whole other story. But you could look at that 1 sharp and go, oh, I know what key I'm in because it has 1 sharp. And only 1 key has 1 sharp. No other major keys have 1 sharp. They all have more sharps or they have flats, but each key has a different amount of stuff. So let's see what F looks like. So the same thing, we're just going to go through the alphabet, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, and we want the same pattern. We still want it to go whole step from 1 to 2, half step, or sorry, whole from 1 to 2, whole from 2 to 3, half 3 to 4, whole 4 to 5, whole 5 to 6, whole 6 to 7, half 7 to 8. So we want a whole, a half, a whole, a half. That's what we want. That's not what it is. We gotta make it be that. Okay? So F to G, what is it? Or what is it? It's a whole step. What do we want? A whole step. So what do we do? Nothing. G to A. What do we want? A whole step. What is it? A whole step. So what do we do? Nothing. Okay? And I know I'm going pretty fast here, but what you can try is to see if you can do these on your own, again, after the video, with nothing. See if you can rewrite G and F before you memorize them and see if you can figure them out again. Or try starting on a different note, like D or B flat, and see what you come up with. Or try a harder one, like B or F sharp. Okay? So finally we get to A to B. It is a whole step, but we want a half step. So A to B is always going to be a whole step, but we want a half step here. So we need to lower our B. We need to make it a B flat. So we'll play the black key right next to A, and that's before B rather than B, and that fixes it. Now that's a half step, okay? B flat to C, it's a whole step, right? Because B to C was a half step since they're right next to each other, but B flat to C is a whole step because we're skipping over B. If that doesn't make any sense, it'd be a good idea to go back and review some of our earlier videos and understanding how whole steps and half steps work and how the keyboard works in general. But if this all makes sense, great, just keep on moving forward. So then C to D, we want a whole step, and it is a whole step, so we're good. D to E, it's a whole step, and we want a whole step, so we're good. And then E to F, we want a half step, and it is a half step, so we're good. So there's our key of F, which ended up having one flat, B flat. So if we were in the key of F, same thing, all of our notes on the staff work the same in any key, but if you want a shortcut, rather than writing flats all the time, you put 1 at the beginning, and now that means B is flat every time. All the B's. It doesn't matter if it's a B down here, or if it's a B up here. Those will be B flat automatically. If we want them to not be B flat, we could use a natural, and that means, okay, make this B a natural, not a B flat. But yep, our F scale will just go F, G, A, B, flat, C, D, E, F. So that's another reason it's important to learn your keys, is because when you get a piece, it'll just say, here you go. And they won't tell you play a B flat every time. They'll just say, hey, you know how key of F works. Play all those B's flat. Don't play any B naturals, okay? So from there, let's take a look at our chords. So if we do the same pattern, 1's major, F major, 2 is minor, G minor, 3 is minor, A minor, 4 is major, B flat major, 5 is major, C major, 6 is minor, D minor, and 7 is diminished, E diminished. Okay, same pattern, major 1, minor 2, minor 3, major 4, major 5, minor 6, diminished 7. So we use our Roman numerals to show which chord it is in music, because we can do an uppercase Roman numeral for majors and we can do a lowercase one for minors. So we have a way to show both a number and a variation. And we just cheat for the diminished ones and put a little circle next to it, just like our diminished chords. Okay. So again, let's look at which chords are new this time. F is old news, we've already seen that. G minor is new though, right? A minor is old news. B flat's new though, we haven't seen that. C major is old news. D minor is old news. And then E diminished is new. So what do those chords all have in common? Well, if you remember what our new chords all had in common from G, it's the same thing. There's a new note. If we brought in that B flat, that's going to make new chords. So this B flat would be B flat, D, and F, whereas our B diminished was B, D, and F. Our G minor is G, B flat, and D. And then our E diminished is E, G, and B flat. So this brings up another thing. All of your chords are all spelled with the same letters. It doesn't matter what kind of A chord it is. It's going to be some sort of A, some sort of C, some sort of E. It doesn't matter what kind of F chord it is. It's going to be some sort of F, some sort of A, some sort of C. It might be F sharp, A, and C, but it's going to be some sort of combination of those letters, and then sharps and flats just push them up and down. So now, let's finally take a little bit of time to think about why these chords are called what they're called. Okay, so now we have enough information for that to kind of start to make sense. Let's look at some chords that we've seen show up more ways than one. So we've seen a D major, and we've seen a D minor. We've seen a G major, and we've seen a G minor. Okay, so when we have a D major, it's D, F, and A. And when we have, D minor, and then when we have a D major, it's D, F sharp, and A. When we have a G minor, it's G, B flat, and D. And when we have a G major, it's G, B, and D. So, what's the pattern here? So it's not that naturals are major or naturals are minor. It's not that sharps make things major or sharp make things minor. It's not that flats make things major or flats make things minor. It's all about distance. So if we look at both of our minor chords here, this note is lower than the one it is in the majors, and all the other notes are the same. G's the same, D's the same, D's the same, A's the same, only that middle note is different. That note we call our third. Remember, when we build our chords, we always go 1, 3, 5, okay? So if you look, whether it's major or minor, the distance from the 1 to the 5 is the same. But the third is different for all of these, and it's specifically lower for all the minors. So if you know what your major is, you can always lower that third and get a minor. So when we did all those 5-note major scales, you can use those to figure out a major chord, and you can also use those to figure out a minor chord if you move that middle note down a half step. So now you just doubled your vocabulary. For all of your major chords you know, you can turn all of those into a minor as well, just with one little small change. And if you want to get really smart about it, you can understand why these are what they are, because they're the same distance every time. If we think about G to B, G, A, B, that's a whole step and then another whole step. So this is called a third, G, A, B, 1, 2, 3. We call this one a major third because it's bigger. Okay? When we think about B to D though, B, C, D, this is a half step, and this is a whole step, so it's only a step and a half. It's still 3 though, B, C, D. But since it's smaller, since it's only 3 half steps, we call this a minor third. Okay. So when you have a major chord, it goes major third on the bottom, minor third on the top. Same thing here. D to F sharp is 3 halves, or it's 2 whole steps. 2 whole steps. 4 semitones, 4 half steps. So that's our major third, and then F sharp to A is a minor third. Now when we do our minor chords, it's the opposite. If you think about G to B flat, G, A, B flat, that's a whole step, that's a half step. So this guy is a minor third. But if you think about B flat to D, B flat, C, D, B flat to C is a whole step, C to D is a whole step, so that's a major third. Same thing up here. D to F is a minor third, and then F to A is a major third. Now this might seem like overkill at this point, but that's only if you are thinking about 2 types of chords. There's other types of chords. We also have diminished chords. We didn't even talk about those. And then we also have other types of chords, like augmented chords. Now this is getting a little bit dense for this video, but if there's interest for more, just leave a comment down below and we'll talk about that. But with this, you have the tools to play in 3 keys, so you can use these 3 keys to learn songs, to write songs, to improvise, do all kinds of cool stuff. And you can also use what we learned from figuring out these keys to figure out any type of major chord or minor chord. Just figure out what note you're starting on, and then you can build a 5-note major scale, and then you can turn it into a minor if you need to. Or you could also do inversions and figure out ways to make them easier to change between, so you can have less motion and focus more on your playing. Okay? So this gives you tons of tools to go out there and look up songs, either read the sheet music or read chord charts and do all kinds of fun stuff. So I hope this helps, and I hope you're ready to start doing some cool stuff with all the things we worked on. And thanks for going through all 10 steps. So hopefully see you some other time. Leave some comments down below if you'd like to look at something else in the future. Have a good one.